We'll wait just a moment for the attendees to start rolling. I would say it's good. You can go ahead and begin.
Okay. Welcome to the meeting of the Board of Directors of the State of Hawaii Department of Agriculture. I am Chair Sharon Hurd. Prior to calling the meeting to order, Stephen Dalton will explain how the public can participate in this hybrid meeting, which can be accessed by video conference, telephone, or in person.
Good morning, everyone. As an attendee, your microphone will be automatically muted during the meeting unless you are providing testimony. For each agenda item you wish to testify on, please click the raise hand button found on your Zoom screen. Board staff will individually enable each testifier to unmute their microphone. When recognized by the chair, please unmute your microphone before speaking and mute your microphone after you finish speaking in order to prevent audio feedback. When testifying, you will be asked to identify yourself and the organization, if any, that you represent. Each testifier will be limited to 2 minutes of testimony per agenda item. For anyone joining by phone, I don't see anyone, but just in case, when the chairperson asks for public testimony, you may indicate you want to testify by entering star and then 9 on your phone's keypad. After entering star and then 9, a voice prompt will let you know that the host of the meeting has been notified. When recognized by the chairperson, you may unmute yourself by pressing star and then 6 on your phone. A voice prompt will let you know that you are unmuted. Once you are finished speaking, please enter star and then 6 again to mute yourself. In the event that connectivity is lost and attempts to repair the connection exceed 30 minutes, the meeting may be terminated or continued to another date and time. Consult the webpage for updated information. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. Testifiers are reminded that there is a 2-minute limit of testimony per agenda item. Calling the meeting to order at 9:09. Taking a roll call. I will take a roll call of the board members present. When your name is called, please indicate your presence with here or present and state who, if anyone, over the age of 18 is present in the room with you. This also serves as a roll call vote. For each subsequent vote, I will ask if there were any objections or recusals. If there are none, then the motion will be approved on the same basis as the initial roll call. Okay, Sharon Hurd here. Deputy Director Ryan Kanakaole. DLNR. Thank you. Dr. Parwinder Grewal, Dean CTR.
Present.
CTR. Oh, thank you. Mary Alice Evans for DBET.
Here and alone.
Diane Lay, Hawaii County.
Present and alone.
Thank you. Vincent Mina, Maui member, is excused. Unless he pipes up right now. Nope. Fred Cowell, Kauai member.
Present and alone.
Thank you. Randy Capral, member at large. I saw Randy.
Present and alone.
Thank you. N Young, member at large. Excused. And James Gomes, member at large.
Present and alone.
Okay, thank you. Approval of the minutes for May 28th. May I have a motion to approve the May 28th, 2024 minutes?
So moved, Jimmy.
Thank you,
Seconded.
Jimmy. Seconded by?
Fred.
Fred, thank you, Fred. Okay, does anyone from the public wish to give testimony? No,
There are no raised hands.
no raised hands. Okay, board discussion? Hearing none. They're calling for the vote. Are there any objections or recusals? Hearing none, the motion to approve the minutes is approved. Okay, introductions have been done. So now we move to item 4, communications from the divisions and administration. Item A1. Request on the transfer of public lands. We have a motion to approve the request.
So moved, Jimmy.
Jimmy, thank you. And second,
Second.
thank you, Mary Alice. Presentation by staff.
Good morning, Chairperson, members of the board. I'm Roy Hesigal, Property Manager, Agriculture Resource Management Division. And I'm presenting a non-action item. This is an update of the last month's transfer of public land to the Department of Agriculture. In summary, the lands have been parcels in Waimanalo, parcels 4-1008054 and parcel 59 have been transferred to the Department of Agriculture's non-agricultural park program. Staff is working with the lessee to be able to perform in full compliance with the existing leases and will come to the board for approval of a conversion of lease as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Roy. Is there any public testimony on this?
There's no raised hands from the public.
Okay, board discussion? Randy?
Thank you, Chair. Roy, you know, when we wanted an update, your update really doesn't tell me anything. So could you be more specific as to what is pending so that it can come before the board? My understanding is that, you know, he did address the issue of back rent by submitting a proposal. So what else is outstanding that you guys need to work on?
Yes, there's the issue with the back rent. There's a encroachment issue. So those two, we're finalizing the counter letter to Mr. Gibson for the back rent, and the encroachment, we have a tentative meeting set up with OPA on July 3rd.
Randy?
Okay.
Is there- Okay,
So, okay, the proposal, okay, has been submitted, so that will come before the board for approval once it comes before the board. Now, my understanding from DLNR is that they have no issue anymore, that it can be resolved easily, so hopefully your meeting will show that. So thanks, Roy.
Yeah, thank you.
thank you, Randy. And we have Jimmy's hand up.
Yes, we do. I spoke with Dave Smith yesterday, and Dave told me it's in the land division in Barry guys' hands to do an RP. And mainly that encroachment deal is not part of the two leases that we're talking about right now. There's two tax key numbers because it's totally different. But just for your information, because of public safety, Buddy's putting in cattle tomorrow on that parcels because he's afraid if he doesn't get it in there now, there's a possible in July, these kids come up and light up that place, and there's so much forage that the homes below are in jeopardy of catching fire, you know. So whether or not it's resolved with the land division or forestry, DOFAR, he's gonna put cattle in it tomorrow morning. But I think, Ryan, you might have been updated with Dave Smith this morning. When I talked to him yesterday, I think he was gonna try to talk to you.
Been updated by Dave yet. Sorry,
Okay.
I'll check in with him now today though.
Yeah, please. We need to get this resolved. And I know that Buddy put in, even before this was transferred, the department wanted him to submit what he would do to correct the default. And I think he put in his proposal of how he would cure the default that he has. So, and then Roy, you answered the questions that I also had. Randy put it out there, but I just like to know how soon or how long this would be before it comes before the board.
Yes, thank you. The letter is gonna be finalized and we expect it to go out this week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other
I'm
hands?
sorry, what was the date again? I didn't quite hear you.
July 3rd.
Okay, thanks.
Was that the date you gave, Roy?
Oh, July 3rd is for the meeting with OFA. The counter letter will go out this week.
The counter letter goes out this week, the meeting's on the 3rd. Okay, any other discussion by the board? This is a non-action item. It was basically to update the board that we are making progress. The,
Chair, sorry,
Okay.
one question. When you say the letter would go out, that letter refers to what?
The background
To who?
to Mr. Gibson.
so Roy, can I say something?
I'm sorry, I don't quite
Okay, so,
understand because Mr. Gibson submitted a letter to you guys with the proposal that he had. So I don't understand, what are you sending him?
Okay, the letter that I reviewed yesterday, is the letter with it explains what DLNR's back rent was, what Buddy's proposal was, and how we will calculate the middle ground. And, oh yeah, it also takes into account the appraisal that was done by ACM. So with all these factors kind of drizzling in, we have all the facts we need now, Randy, and so we'll put together a proposal, and I finalized it yesterday, and it should go out this week, Roy said?
This week.
Yeah, so anything to add, Roy?
No.
No?
Okay,
I have a
I'm
question,
still
Jimmy,
confused.
again.
I'm
We'll
still
recognize
confused.
Jimmy.
Okay, when do you think we can have a copy of that appraisal that was done by ACM, including the leasee, which should be Buddy? A copy of that lease?
Yeah, the appraisal will go to Mr. Gibson this week, and then we can send you a copy.
Thank you.
Chair, I'm
Thank you.
still a little bit confused on this. When you say that you guys are gonna propose a middle ground, does that mean that DOA is proposing a different back rent proposal than what Mr. Gibson submitted?
That's
Yeah,
correct.
yes.
That's correct.
But isn't it the board's decision to
Yes,
accept or
absolutely,
reject?
absolutely. We will make the request, it's a submittal, Randy, you're right. It's a submittal and it goes to the board for discussion.
Okay, so if Mr. Gibson says, no, I'm sticking with my original proposal, that comes to the board, right, for approval?
Hi, Randy, this is Brian Yee. So if I could just, what I think, the Department of Agriculture had said is they were going to negotiate with Mr. Gibson. If they failed to reach an agreement, they would come to the board with the various positions each side has taken, and the board could resolve it. But that the department was going to attempt to reach an agreement first, before it submitted and before it submitted anything to the board. If they reach an agreement, great, they submit the agreement to the board. If they don't reach an agreement, they're still coming to the board, but they'll submit what the respective positions were.
Okay, thanks, Brian. But I was told originally that Mr. Gibson would submit that and they needed his proposal so they could come to the board. I wasn't told that there was going to be a counter proposal from DOA, and that's where the confusion lies.
Oh, I see Mary Alice.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to speak in favor of giving the lessee credit for environmental services by putting cattle into overgrown grasslands that are near homes that can reduce fire danger as we go into the fire risk season here. That's actually something that should be put to the credit of the lessee, simply because, as we know, it's a real advantage or benefit to the state and to adjacent communities to have those grasses eaten down to the point where they are no longer a source of rapidly burning fuel. Just my thought, but I would want the department to consider that in addition to the appraisal, which may not take that into account, but it is important. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Also, Chair and staff, Buddy's been a steward of this area and taking care of it, whether it's under DLNR and DOFAR for the last 60 years. So and it is basically a quarry, a rock quarry that's got squat in it through his stewardship and expertise. He has managed to put cattle in it, but again, he's very well aware of the dangers of when it's all of us stakeholders in ranching for a fire. And he's also even gone and cleared the understory of the branches and limbs that fall off the trees with his own dime. He's not asking for anything, but he's just concerned about the community below him and around, and also for his stake that he has there. Just my 2 cents.
Thank you for that, Jimmy. Any other board discussion? I'm gonna ask Brian a question. Because this is a non-action item, we don't really take a vote.
No,
No.
there's no vote.
Okay. So hearing, any other comments, hearing or seeing none, we will move on to item. Actually, we're done with the items. We're gonna move on to new. And we made the commitment, thank you, Ron. We made the commitment that even if there's just one lease or one loan that we would meet, because if it's your lease or your loan, you really want to get some closure on it. So thank you for convening for the one issue. Hey, Ann, noting that Ann Young has just joined the meeting. Okay, so moving on to new business. And because this is a little new for me, I'm going to say that we just received testimony last night, or we were able to review it today. So with the non-action items under new business, I'm going to ask for some direction. How do we review the testimony?
The testimony can certainly be handed out now, today. But that would have to be done obviously by email. So it was sent, and is a copy available for the public? Okay, so a copy is available at the table for the public to review. There is a new law that may be passed and signed that would allow the distribution of testimony at any time, but I don't know that it was signed yet. So, so till then, we have to, board packets are supposed to only be submitted 48 hours before, within 48 hours, more than 48 hours before the meeting. So it was not able to be sent to you before, if it came in so late, we couldn't submit it to you until the date of the meeting. As I said, there is a new law there's a new bill that might be passed to take care of that issue, but I don't know that it was signed yet. But so as of today, you received it, you can consider it now, but unfortunately haven't had much time to review it.
So board, based on what Brian said, we were not able to send the testimony until this morning, and didn't give you much time to review. But do we have to ask for a motion?
No, it can just be submitted.
Okay.
Move on to the matter.
The public testimony?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, is there any staff presentation?
Staff presentation. John, did you have a chance to review it?
Yeah. So, good morning, Chair, members of the board virtually. Jonathan Ho, I'm the acting manager for the Department of Agriculture Plant Quarantine Branch. Just here to provide a quick update for the board agenda item about the invasive species action plan updates. I did get a quick look at the testimony. Obviously the biggest thing was the completion of 4-72. You know, so I've been tasked with, you know, completing it, and, you know, I'm working on it with a lot of other things that I've been tasked with. I'm hoping to get it done faster than not. I've been really focused with regards to really implementing a lot of what 472 needs to be done. We've been really trying to focus on getting all our positions ready for the governor's proposed cutting of positions that are over 4 years old. For plant quarantine, quite a bit of our upper level positions kind of fall into that category, and losing those positions when we're already really short staffed is going to be quite catastrophic for really ensuring that we can do a lot of the things that really need to be done long term. And thankfully, I know that there was a lot of concern about knowingly selling of infested material. To date, we don't have any evidence that directly correlates to that. We have some circumstantial things, but nothing that we've been able to directly correlate. And you know, there was a lot of talk about a particular nursery in Honolulu. And, you know, we were all thankfully able to get on board. They were very cooperative with us. I think we've done 3 surveys on their property, with the last survey having not found any LFA, which is great. That being said, you know, that's just the start of a lot of other surveys moving forward. But, you know, that I think that's you know, that's historically how the department has functioned with nurseries. We have an issue, we reach out to them directly, and then we start working with them. That's really, you know, 99.9% of the time that's happened. And, you know, since the rule has come through, we haven't had any other situations where we were unable to get onto that, getting access. We have a bunch of ongoing responses with regards to LFA. Right now, plant quarantine, we're doing 2 to 3 surveys a week across Oahu. This is just Oahu. Right now, it's about 13% of the staff's time to do this work. So it is quite taxing from the normal duties, since, you know, obviously plant quarantine is kind of like surge capacity. It's not really necessarily our function, but we continue to do those. And, you know, if we find LFA, we work with those nurseries or we found it in some other establishments to ensure that they're treating and following up with them. CRB, we're continuing to do CRB mitigation, particularly for inter-island movement of green waste. We do roughly 2 inspections a week, witnessing treatments of mulch and or potted material, commercial material. We're ensuring that all the shipments are subjected to approved treatments, whether it be heat or fumigation. And then ensuring that those any container that it's shipped in is completely sealed to prevent infestation after the fact. We're doing outreach and you know, added inspections at the harbors, and our staff last week actually did find a palletized shipment going to Lanai. The shipper did not know about the regulation, so we basically refused it, and then we're working with them to fumigate that shipment and get it so that they can move it. And then for Koki, this year we've done about 80 responses on Oahu, caught about 400 frogs so far, so quite a bit of work. We recently entered into an MOA, anyway, an agreement with DLNR and UH to really manage to really coordinate efforts to deal with, you know, primarily LFA, CRB, and to some extent Koki. And we're working with the partners, so that's the invasive species committees, HISC, Hawaii Ant Lab, and the CRB response team to really get county-specific plans with folks that are on the ground, so that, you know, we can obviously deal with, you know, each island's individual needs. You know, obviously what you do for Koki on Big Island is going to be very different from what you do on Oahu or Maui or Kauai. So we're working on those. It's been a lot of meetings. but that's what it takes. And then I think the last thing is the legislature passed HB 2619 and which provided a significant amount of money, and we're very thankful for that. We've been kind of waiting to see. My understanding, it hasn't been signed yet, so we're really trying to figure out because there's a lot of positions and there's a lot of money for a lot of projects, and hopefully that happens sooner than later, so we can really get I think concrete plans out, and I think to obviously provide more updates to the board, because my understanding is this is going to be an ongoing thing, so that we can provide more updates for you. Yeah, that's really all I have.
Thanks, good. Okay. Any comments from the public? Any public comments? Is someone in the room?
I don't see any hands raised online.
So, comment.
Please. Yeah, thank you, please.
Morning, board. In regards to those updates that I'm sorry, what was your name? Jonathan said, I just want to expand on those strategies of management practices and how important they are, and how some of them are ineffective at the moment. More needs to be done to limit the spread to outer islands, and the practices that are in place now are inefficient, in my opinion. Also, in terms of the meetings that you guys are having with UH and other communities, please keep us updated and let us know how we can interact with those, as they progress, because yeah, like you said, the guys on the ground are experiencing this firsthand, and it's happening very rapidly across the island. The monies that you guys got, I'm encouraged to hear that there's more funding to fight this. Yeah, but the funding that has already been provided has gotten bad results. So is this new funding gonna be put in the right place to stop this problem? I'm requesting that the Department of Agriculture start to think in terms of green waste management for every ahupua'a, especially in contaminated, infested areas, public areas where green waste can be managed for infected trees. We're talking about tons of debris that are going to be removed over the next months to a year. I'm out in Mokuleia. I'm doing inspections on trees where the whole landscape is going to come down. All these trees are infected. Dillingham Ranch is an example of a massive amount of green waste material that is a host zone for CRD. They're no longer living in the mulch. Once they have established themselves in the tree, those trees become host sites for them to proliferate. When that material hits the ground, where is it going to go? I am very skeptical that Hawaiian Earth Products is able to manage, as the sole aggregator of Oahu, all the green waste effectively, and say confidently that their product is not potentially contaminated. I think it's absolute negligence that over the last months, I have seen advertising from them giving out free products and encouraging the community to come back up their trucks to get free soil and go spread it all around the island. This is ridiculous. We need to be thinking like this is COVID, and keep everything where it is. You don't have soil, tough luck right now. Make your own soil, keep your green waste in your own ahupua'a.
So you didn't identify yourself? but I want.
My name is Alexander Hubbard. I'm a concerned citizen coconut farmer
Thank you.
from the area of Honolulu. So
Honolulu.
just to let everybody know, we're gonna have a town meeting. Senator Awa has organized this at Honolulu Elementary School Cafeteria, July 1st, 6 to 9 p.m. Will one of your representatives be there?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. As well as somebody from the CRB response team?
I can find out. Yeah, we can reach out to them.
Okay.
Will be.
Great. Yeah, so that's another opportunity for us to get together. Honolulu is one of the areas that has not been affected. We're now only experiencing our first outbreak, which happened this last month. So, you know, another thing is to say that that Oahu is completely infested is not true. It's not the case.
Honolulu was recently infested. Is that what you're saying?
It's just recently had the first outbreak. So to deem the whole island as infested is not appropriate, you know. Also to come out with a statement from the DOA saying that there is no management, you know, effective management treatment for CRB. I mean, what kind of message are we saying to our citizens and our public when we release those kind of statements, you know?
Anthony? Appreciate your comments.
Alexander.
Alexander, sorry, we recently had a group of scientists from all over the Pacific convene, and it is true, there is, what they told us is, while there's no biocontrol or no effective treatment, what they said was the number one thing we can do is sanitation. So what you said today is absolutely right on. Sanitation, if you have a dead tree, it's a breeding site. Cut it down, get rid of it. Just keep your area sanitized and you're good.
Mrs. Hurd, to elaborate on what you just said, where get rid of it, where is it gonna go?
That's why we did a green waste for every county. Every county was awarded some funding to take care of green waste management. Really good ideas. So we're hoping that helps. In addition, we did an RFP for communities for green waste management. And was Oahu successful in submitting?
Yeah, so I think for Honolulu, there was, I think there were 2 Windward side RFPs that were going out to the board.
So the community engagement, to what you said, Alexander, is right on. So we have 2 proposals out in your area. They're going to manage green waste, and hopefully that makes a difference. Because right now, as we're talking, there's a glimmer of hope that there's a biocontrol for the type of CRB we have, but we're working on it. There's really, it's really tough. This is a very resilient infestation in bug. It's a bug.
I understand.
But we appreciate your concern and we hear you.
Great. One more request from the Department of Ag. Allow lands for the public in their ahupua'a to control this contaminated material. Look at different studies from the past from our other Pacific Islanders. They've managed their green waste and contained their green waste within their own areas. And it can be successful. Instead of transporting hazardous material to one sole aggregator on the island, who will then redistribute that material across the island and to the outer islands, we're only gonna exasperate this.
Thank you. Can I remind of 2-minute testimony? This is not a time.
It would have been a good time, I think, at the beginning.
Okay.
I think it's a little unfair.
Okay,
after the
got
first
it.
person is tested.
All right, so we will
But
take that into consideration.
it is a reminder to ask everyone to try to be succinct.
Okay. Any further public testimony? Sure.
You can do it. There is one person online. So I don't know if you want to.
Okay, wait, do you mind? We're gonna go online.
I would like to call up Mia Lisa Otis. If you
Can you
could
hear me?
please state your name and organization, if any.
Hi, my name is Mia Lisa Otis. I'm from Waimanalo. I'm a community member. And I know you guys got a lot of money to remediate this situation, and it's been out of hand even before the ant lab. You know, it's been years. So you guys gotta have something in plan. And I would appreciate if you do name the bad actors, because I wouldn't want to go to a nursery and bring fire ants home so my kids can play in it. I appreciate everything that you guys are trying to do, and I hope to see some solutions soon. Mahalo.
Thank you. Jonathan, can we make a comment on the certified nursery list on the website? Certified nurseries are where she can go, perhaps?
Yeah, so so Jonathan Ho, acting manager, plant quarantine branch. So the department does have a program where we certify nurseries, and it is primarily to facilitate movement. But those nurseries, there's a lot of standards that they need to go through to ensure that they don't have pests to enable the certification. The department has a list on its website. And I think there's it's about 135 nurseries statewide. I think it's about 42 or so on Oahu, that have this certification. And, those are places that we go to on our, right now at a minimum twice a year. We're testing for LFA, koki, pretty much, every pest, and the certification is not given if we find any pest. It doesn't necessarily mean any of, like, I guess the big three that we're kind of talking about. So yeah, you can go onto that website and onto the department's website and find that. And then if you have questions, feel free to reach out to our office, and we can answer any other questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Hurd, members of the board, Wayne Tanaka with the Sierra Club of Hawaii. Just want to start a couple points of order. And I think definitely Kanaka Ole and member Gomes can attest to this, but the Board of Land Natural Resources considers dozens of agenda items and are able to take testimony up to 24 hours in advance. So maybe there's some consultation we can do with the folks in that end to see how we might be able to accommodate.
Thank you, Wayne.
People take time.
Just to let you know, they've taken the testimony and it is part of the record. The question was just when could we distribute it to the board members? So we could not distribute it until this morning. Because it would be considered part of a board packet. But as I said, there is a new law that would allow the distribution of testimony within the 48 hours.
Okay, I mean, yeah, maybe we can talk about their process or what they say their process is. And I also wanted to point out that detailed control and eradication plans are mandated by statute. I think it's 141-3.5. So I was really interested to know, where the department was in terms of having those detailed plans. And I'm still a little bit, confused as to whether there are established, processes or plans. Is there a living document or something that the public can review, and as well as decision makers? And part of that, ties into the bill that Jonathan mentioned, which is the $20 million appropriation. And I'm not sure if folks are aware, it seems like they aren't, but that the governor has indicated his intent to veto that bill. And his justification was that he doesn't think it's executable by the department. And so I'm thinking, how can we make sure that these resources remain available? Because it sounds like a lot is riding on those $20 million. So, do you have a plan that we can point to and say, hey, there actually is a roadmap to spending this money in an effective and strategic way? And if there isn't, then, maybe we need to get going on that. And also to, just to comment on the staffing restrictions and burdens. One thing I was curious about hearing today was whether and how the department is leveraging the resources of the Ant Lab, the ISCs, the CGAPs. Is there interaction? Is the Hawaii Ant Lab currently advising specific businesses now as to best practices, as to responding to potential outbreaks and keeping them from potentially getting out of hand? And I do want to, there's other creative ways to tackle some of the problems that were mentioned. I think Member Evans, she has experience on the governor's Build Beyond Barriers working group, and so they looked at staffing shortages in county and state offices, and we're able to kind of troubleshoot that using the government's emergency powers. And I'm wondering if, maybe that's something that, Member Evans can share out, or offline, and just with the administration in general, because there are, as Alexander testified, like this is serious stuff. Like if this stuff, I mean, CRB it's spreading across Kauai now. LFA, recently showed up in Hana with the breeding population of koki and the koalas. If this stuff gets to other places, if CRB jumps to other Pacific Island states, where their economies are dependent on coconut, like we're gonna tank entire nations. And so we gotta get our house right. We gotta keep our house clean, otherwise we're gonna start, like it's gonna affect us, it's gonna affect us for generations, it's gonna affect other places potentially. And to the end, I do also want to emphasize that, it's been, I really want to thank the board for approving the 4-72 rules last February. I do want to note that the public hearing took place at the end of January this year, and it's been a number of months since then. And I was here during the public hearing, and I didn't hear any opposition. The testimony was all generally supportive and actually urging the department to move on those rules so that we can, address these really high risk transmission vectors for, particularly for LFA, but for other number of invasive pests. So if we can expedite that process, it's been almost a year and a half. It will be a year and a half if we get final approval at the next meeting. And we really respectfully but strongly urge that we tie that one up. I do think it's valuable for the board and for the public and for decision makers to hear about what the department's actions and plans are going forward. And so we'd like to reiterate a request in a written testimony that we have regular updates in pretty much every board of agriculture meeting, because this is an emergency. This is literally like an existential situation in many ways. And so with that, thank you. I'll have to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any other public testimony online or present? Thank you.
Good morning, Chair.
Morning.
Members of the board online, Jarrett Kyoho-Kalole. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. I guess my request follows the Mr. Tanaka earlier. I'm wondering if there is a published Little Fire Ant action plan available for view of the public. I attended the board meeting last month. As you members know, there was no briefing of the board on the details of the action plan, and I cannot find it on the department website last night. And the first time we saw a draft of the plan was after the informational briefing that was held in the Senate in May. I also have not seen the coconut rhinoceros fetal action plan. And so the question again is whether the plan has been published and is publicly available, and whether the board will be briefed on the plan in a meeting either today or in a later board meeting going forward. Specifically as it relates to the Little Fire Ant action plan, in the May 2nd briefing in the Senate, there was a discussion about the need for specific work plans to be drafted by the department in order to make that plan actionable. This is a specific concern because my understanding in our office is that the Hawaii Ant Lab was directed by this department in February to stand down on any work that it was conducting with commercial nurseries, specifically on Oahu and in Waimanalo. And it would be nice to hear whether there is some engagement by the department, not just with the commercial operators that were discussed in the briefings, but with the operators who had been partnering with the Ant Lab and receiving guidance on best management practices in how to deal with pest management voluntarily. So not just the guys that came up in the conversations over the last several months, but all of the other commercial operators who were working with the Ant Lab that are no longer working with the Ant Lab. It would be nice to hear an update from the department as to what is going on with them and whether they are continuing to get appropriate guidance on what they're supposed to do. Because my understanding is that from February to May, when the informational briefing was held, there was nothing done with those commercial operators. I'd also like to note, because this is maybe the third time I've heard the department say that in dealing with commercial operators who had infestations, that there was no evidence. When the department is not actually investigating whether there is an infestation at a nursery or at a home site or any commercial operator, just because there is no evidence doesn't mean that there's no infestation, especially if there's no investigation going on. Because I've also heard the department say that they have no authority to conduct investigations when the commercial operator refuses entry, and they don't have any authority because there's no action plan. And so I feel like perhaps the board should be apprised of whether the action plan that was developed by this department actually allows the Department of Ag to do what it needs to do, since it directed the Hawaii Ant Lab to no longer engage with commercial operators in the treatment of pests. And then finally, as it relates to the chapter 4-72 rules, I would like to note, because it was brought up earlier, that it has been 16 months since this board approved those rules. It's been 5 months since the public hearing, but the process was delayed by at least 6 months because this department claimed that after the board approved the rules, that it required an additional legal check, which was refuted by the Attorney General's office, and was actually a false statement that was made. So I would appreciate some quicker movement on the review of the comments, or at least the status on when the comment review period will be completed, so that the public has some understanding on when those rules will go through. I appreciate your time, and thank you for allowing me to testify.
Thank you, Senator. Anyone else online or public testimony? Hearing, seeing none. Thank you. It's a non-action item and we will continue to, pardon. Jimmy, go ahead, Jimmy.
Yes, first of all, I'd like to thank all of those who testified. Very, very good points. And as Senator had said the last time, you know, we've got to be a lot more transparent. We got to stay on it. The question I have for you, Chair and Jonathan, is, are we, or do we have enough staff, first of all, to continue this project or to continue this invasive species? Because it's not only on Oahu, we have invasive species on one of the major ones is on a big island, the two-line spittlebug, that has consumed 183,000 acres. If any of that comes to other islands, we will be devastated as far as the stakeholders are concerned. But my question, because there is monies available, do we have enough staff? And if not, how are we going to scale up so we can be more online with everyone else and the public is satisfied? Because it seems that the people who are testifying or not testifying, and you get emails, they're concerned that we're not moving fast enough or they're not being informed. So in a timely manner and to get this moving, you know, because that's my question anyway.
Thank you, Jimmy. Remember, Jimmy, the House Bill 2619 provided for public outreach, and I think it was called, Dexter, do you remember what that line item was for computer upgrades? Yeah. So we plan to, our plan is, once 2619 is signed, we plan to start initiating, come Jonathan, publicly, well, you can fill in the details, Jonathan, it is your baby.
Adopted. Yeah, so I think to address the question, do we have enough staff? As I noted before, like for example, with LFA responses on Oahu, it's about 13% of the staff's time. And that is a function that isn't actually tasked to PQ. That's actually a plant pest control plant's function. And that's for a single pest. So should something similar begin to occur for any other pest, I think, you can see the numbers will clearly show that there isn't enough time to do the normal functions of inspections and certifications to ensure pests aren't moving or being imported into the state. So 2619 does have quite a bit of people for the plant industry division. So it's not just plant quarantine, it also allows for plant pest control branch and for pesticides. And should it be signed and all those positions get into play and we can fill them, it will likely really assist. And I think depending on, I guess the level of funding and the specific projects that are going to be implemented, will it be enough? I think it depends on who you ask specifically about, what is good enough. I mean, I think, you have some talks of people wanting to ban everything leaving Oahu, I think too, whereas yeah, so you have two sides of the spectrum, and it's trying to find that, I think that middle ground, I think, to manage it. Obviously we don't want to move CRB or any other pest anywhere else that it's not already established, but it's not already found. So and I think again that bill is also again for 1 year. So again, should it be signed? Obviously, we're gonna have to do a lot of work to show the legislature that we mean business. We want to and the public that we want to do the work that needs to be done. Push the ball forward, and what the department or the division looks like, I think moving forward, I think need to be revised, I think long-term to really manage, I think, how things are currently with regards to movement and yeah, sorry, kind of rambling, but yeah.
So,
Thank you,
so
Jonathan.
Jonathan, are we listening collaboratively to the public and to the stakeholders who are concerned? Are we listening to them? Because, they have some great ideas, and, are we engaging and listening and researching it we can satisfy everyone the best we can?
Yeah, so like Sharon mentioned, there were 2 RFPs that were put out specifically for CRB. For community, so there was for community green waste management, there was one contract for each island, I think for $40,000 for, I think we issued one, I think we're going to issue one for Oahu, Maui, and Kauai. And I think we didn't get anything from Molokai, and I think the Hawaii Island proposal, unfortunately, they weren't compliant. So we couldn't go past the awards. The other RFP was for the control and management of CRB on the island of Oahu. And there were, I think, contracts were up to 25,000, and I believe we were able to get, I think 6, if I'm correct, I remember correctly, that were compliant. And obviously we're working through the contracting process to get that out, and so we can distribute funds. And those particular projects are folks in the community, and their work obviously can then, provided that they show efficacy, can then be potentially scaled up and distributed. Because they're like Alexander said, they're the folks that are on the ground, they're in the communities, they know what their issues are. And if we can provide that little bit of seed money or resources to really help facilitate that, I think that I think that's one of the things that really needs to occur, because the department, plant quarantine is like 90 people statewide. We're trying to manage green waste, which is being made in the tons daily. There's no way that maybe it'll change, but I don't ever see the department getting so much money and so much resources that we're gonna be able to, I think really, get into like a really strong enforcement capacity and really kind of start hammering everybody. It's gonna really take, us doing enforcement, with our limited scale, a lot of education and outreach so that people understand the risks and what they can do to help manage spread. And then also getting, the community involved in being part of the solution to, control and, maybe one day eradicate, like Sharon said, maybe we'll find that, that biocontrol agent and, that we could potentially distribute to the public. They can go out and then, potentially put it out into the environment and, really help manage their areas. I think that's the goal and, make CRB, kind of just there. It's not going to be like the devastating, and that's not going to be causing the devastating effects that it is now.
Good chance for us to say thank you to Jonathan and the plant quarantine branch for all the hard work they're doing with the RFP and going through the proposals and implementing the contracts, because it's really important for the communities that have been awarded these contracts. The results from the projects that you do, the successful ones, we hope to use the money from 2619 and do a wider RFP statewide, so that some of the projects that, in your community, maybe on Hawai or Maui, they're saying, wow, that project really worked, we can do that. And then take it on, and then, the good work will spread. But Oahu, we know, is the ground zero right now. So we're gonna implement those projects here, and the successful ones, like I said, 2619 funding, Jonathan will have another RFP. So,
But
Jimmy,
we
is that
do have,
good?
I still have, we do have an issue, or if we have a strategic plan to say how we're going to move forward, and you just said something, Jonathan, about, the possibility of not having enough money. Well, we have senator in the House and they're policy makers, but they would need to know a strategic plan of how much you need and why you need it and where it's going to do totally. And then maybe they can fight for the department to get that kind of money so we can resolve this invasive species. But I did not just go there and said, give me $2, but why? Why you need $2? You know what I'm saying? They need to know exactly why and how it's going to be spent, and how collaboratively all of the stakeholders will benefit besides Hawaii. That's my 2 cents. Your turn, Randy.
Thank you, thank you, Jimmy. Randy?
Here, I think 2619 is on the governor's veto list, right? How could you explain what that process is? He going to completely veto the whole bill or just part of it? I'm not quite sure I understood the press release.
Yeah, so there's an explanation. Thank goodness we have our counsel here.
Hi, Randy. So House Bill 2619 is primarily a series of appropriations for particular items. If I understood the governor's message correctly, he's looking at a line item veto for some of those matters. I don't know how much or which ones it is, but that's what the governor's message was. So it appears that some unknown number of line items would be vetoed by the governor.
Okay, thanks. Because the 20 million appropriation is far cry from what you actually need, right? I think the estimate was like 90 million to be effective. So hopefully the governor does give you that money.
Yeah, thank you, Randy. Any other board discussion? Hearing, seeing none. This is a non-action item, so we will close the discussion and move on to adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So move, Jimmy.
Jimmy, seconded by Randy? Fred Cowell, thank you. And any board discussion on that? Hearing, seeing none. Calling for the vote. Being unanimous. Did I call for the vote? Any objections or recusals? Hearing, seeing none. The meeting is adjourned. Unanimous decision. Thank you. Meeting is adjourned at. 10:05. Thank you. Till, the next meeting is July 23rd at 9 a.m. See you then. Bye.